Hi everyone, my name is Katie Lampe, and I work on the sales side of the house at Twitter in partner management. And my team is responsible for our international expansion strategy into Latin America. And I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you all about Twitter as a marketing platform. But before I get started, to give me a better sense of the room, by show of hands, how many of you guys have a Twitter account? Great. And how many of you have logged into that Twitter account within the last 2 weeks? And how many of you have tweeted sometime in the past couple days using the event hashtag FOM12? Even better. So before I get into Twitter as a marketing platform, I want to start at the core of Twitter, the building blocks of Twitter, which are the tweets. A lot of people ask us, tweets are 140 characters, and can I really tell meaningful stories in that amount of space? But if you think about it, through history, some of the most motivational and inspirational stories have been told in that amount of space or less. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Gandhi, 48 characters. Anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. Albert Einstein, 117 characters. If you can't feed 100 people, then feed just one. Mother Teresa, 55 characters. And so even though these are stories that are told by exceptional people, anybody on Twitter can have a voice, and anybody can spark a conversation. Like this woman. Stephanie Gordon was in the right place at the right time. She was on a commercial airline flight when the space shuttle took off. And out of her airplane window, she took a photo, and when she landed, she tweeted it. And because this was such interesting content, it spread quickly. Through the power of a retweet, which is forwarding content onto one's followers, her message spread from her 1,000 followers at the time to millions all over the world in just an hour. And so with all this conversation that's happening on Twitter and these powerful stories being told, it begs the question, where do brands fit into this? And advertising has traditionally been disruptive. People read magazines, they browse the web, they watch television. They are to consume content that's interesting to them. And as marketers, the only way to include your brand in that experience is to deliver your message above, below, and in between the content. And so when Twitter was developing its monetization strategy, we could have gone the traditional route. But instead, we thought of ways that we could shift this paradigm and that we could build something on top of what users were doing organically on the platform already. And what we came up with is a model where the ads are the content. The ads are part of the conversation. And with 140 characters as the new ad copy and the ability to embed media within tweets, brands can tell some really powerful stories on Twitter. And since it's a conversation, they can engage with users, and users and brands can tell these stories together. So this is an actual tweet from a race car driver named Brad Keselowski, who was driving the Daytona 500 race. And during the race, there was a crash, and there was a fire that erupted. And he took a photo, and he tweeted it. So his followers and people that were on Twitter, for the first time, saw his perspective. And users began replying to Brad's tweet, and they were retweeting it at volume. And so fans of his asked, "Do you seriously have a phone in your car?" And Brad took the time to answer them back. And it turns out that he was actually stopped when he took the photo, and we don't recommend tweeting and driving. But within 10 minutes, Brad gained over 100,000 new followers. And later, the network said that normally during the cleanup, ratings dip because users tune out and there's not much to see. But in this case, users stayed engaged. And one brand was following this full flow of conversation and saw this as an opportunity. and that brand was Tide. So it turns out when there's oil that's spilled on the racetrack, they actually use Tide to clean it up. And Tide was there and snapped a photo of their brand in the moment. And the next day, they continued the conversation about the Daytona 500 race by inviting users to participate in a caption contest. And so users replied and retweeted this tweet, which extended Tide's message to their followers. And this was a clever way for Tide to engage in a conversation that already existed on Twitter and put their brand in the middle of a moment that was meaningful to a lot of users. And since Twitter is a platform based on interests, brands can use Twitter as a broadcast platform to broadcast their content to users based on those interests. So for example, if you want to reach music fans, Twitter allows you to talk directly to those fans. And that's exactly what Pepsi wanted to do in their Live for Now campaign. They wanted to start a conversation around an important passion, which is music. And they leveraged Twitter and Twitter's promoted products to speak directly to fans on Twitter about music. And they delivered their content in the form of live streamed concerts. And these concerts lived on Pepsi's account page. And the tweets flowed to their followers. But Pepsi was also able to reach all users on Twitter interested in music by using promoted products to target and speak directly to all of those users. And since Twitter has a seamless desktop to mobile experience, a tweet looks like a tweet, no matter if you see it on desktop or on mobile. So Pepsi was actually able to reach users in their pocket. In fact, they were even able to reach people standing in the middle of Times Square, where they had their live stream broadcast on a billboard with live tweets flowing underneath. And it doesn't matter where in the world these events are happening, the digital conversation is happening on Twitter. Just about every month, we're seeing that tweet per minute records are being broken across all verticals. And there are ways that brands can engage in this enormous amount of conversation by providing unique, behind-the-scenes content that enhances the event itself. This is a tweet from the London Olympics, and this is a tweet from the pool cam. And the Olympics set up cameras all over the various Olympic venues to tweet out these unique perspectives. And Visa, who's a global sponsor of the Olympics, was able to take advantage of the enormous conversation that was already happening on Twitter about the Olympics by inserting interesting content into users' feeds. And they were able to deliver these messages at key moments using promoted tweets. And the level of conversation on Twitter continues to increase as we add more users. So there are 400 million unique visitors to Twitter every month. That's 400 unique visitors that could be seeing your message on Twitter. Of those 400 unique visitors, 140 million of them log in at least once per month, and almost half of those log in at least once per day. And all of these users are having a lot of conversation to the tune of over 400 million tweets per day. And just to give you a sense of how much Twitter has grown and how much volume that actually is, it took Twitter 3 years, 2 months, and 1 day to hit our first billionth tweet. And now we're producing over 2.5 billion tweets every 2.5 days. And our audience is global. So over 70% of Twitter's traffic comes from outside of the United States. And Twitter has offices right now in the United States, the UK, and Japan. And Latin America for us represents an extremely strategic region based on the number of active users we have there and how quickly our key markets there are growing year over year, which is why we're opening up sales operations there this year. And users on Twitter, they want to hear from brands. The average user follows 6 or more brands. And so we encourage you to use material that you're already creating for your other marketing platforms and place your username on there. When you put your username out there, you're not only telling people that you're on Twitter, but you're inviting them to consume your message today and in the future. And hashtags. Hashtags can live everywhere. We see hashtags on television shows to organize the conversation. We see hashtags used for live Q&As on television. We see them on commercials, on billboards. And so a hashtag can live anywhere and can be used to ignite a conversation and to organize a conversation. And one question that we always get is, who's doing it best on Twitter? And so what I want to leave you with is an example of a brand that's using Twitter to connect their message across all of their marketing platforms. And before I click to the next slide, does anyone want to guess who that brand is? Anybody? Come on. Who do you think it is? Coke? That's a good guess. The brand is Nike. So Nike kicked off their Make It Count campaign this year. And this is a hashtag that not only lives online and on Twitter, but it also lives in all of their offline marketing initiatives. And they're able to use this hashtag as a way to start a conversation. And so even their athletes are using Make It Count to help tell the Make It Count story. And they're tying this hashtag into live events. So this is a tweet, or this is a billboard that popped up during the Olympics. And you can see it not only highlights the Make It Count hashtag, but also the runner's username. And this next commercial is one that they produced for the Euro Cup. And you can see, I want you guys to count how many times you see the hashtag just in the first 20 seconds.
Is fantastisch. De beweging in de center.
So you can see how many times they used the hashtag, and this was persistent throughout the entire 3-minute commercial. It's a really good commercial. I recommend you guys looking it up. And they also used the players' usernames and the Nike username throughout the commercial as well. And the theme that we're seeing is that the brands that are most successful on Twitter are the ones that understand that Twitter can be an extension of your brand's DNA. They're the ones that see the conversation as the opportunity, and they're finding unique ways to deliver their message. They're the ones that understand that the ads are the content, and the conversation is their canvas. Thank you.